Hello, welcome to GP Podcast. Today, we're diving into a massive story that's unfolding right now, right in the heart of the AI revolution. It's a direct attack on what could very soon be the most valuable company on the planet, Nvidia. But here's the thing, this isn't an attack on a new chip or faster hardware. No, this goes deeper. This is about the very software foundation of its nearly $4 trillion empire. And if this plan works, that foundation doesn't just face a little competition. It gets shaken to its core. So, to really understand just how big of a threat this is, we first have to unpack the secret to NVIDIA's incredible power. You see, NVIDIA didn't just win the AI race because it had one or two generations of really good GPUs. It won because it spent years meticulously building a software ecosystem so powerful and so deeply woven into how AI gets made that leaving it just felt completely irrational. And at the very center of that ecosystem is one thing: CUDA. The easiest way to think of CUDA is as the master translator. It's this absolutely critical software layer that takes the AI frameworks developers love, like PyTorch, and translates all their instructions into brutally optimized code that runs perfectly on NVIDIA's hardware. It creates this almost inseparable bond between the software and the chip. And this bond, it creates a super powerful cycle called architectural lock-in. An AI team develops their model in PyTorch. They run it on GPUs that are optimized through CUDA, and they get amazing peak performance. But then, the second they think about switching to a competitor, they realize how incredibly costly and complicated it would be. They are, for all intents and purposes, trapped. And the cost of switching is it's immense. We're not just talking about buying some new hardware. It means rewriting huge amounts of low-level code, replacing operations that are specific only to CUDA, completely re-optimizing how data moves around, and, get this, retraining entire teams of engineers. For any big company, that is a multi-million-dollar, multi-month nightmare. So this lock-in, it's created this incredibly difficult choice for AI companies, which brings us to part 2 of our story: the emergence of a secret weapon, a potential lock picker. Until now, the choice has been just brutal. On one hand, you can stick with NVIDIA, pay their high prices, and deal with the constant supply shortages. On the other hand, you can undertake that massive, painful engineering project to move to a rival. It's a classic rock-and-a-hard-place situation. But what if there was a third option? What if you could break the lock without having to rewrite all your code? This is the promise of a new project called TorchTPU. The strategy is devastatingly simple. Let developers keep using their favorite tool, PyTorch, but seamlessly swap the hardware out from underneath, from Nvidia GPUs to Google's powerful TPUs. So who are the architects behind this attack? Well, this isn't some small startup. This is an alliance of giants. Let's start with Google's massive contribution. Google is bringing the hardware. They are the creators of the Tensor Processing Unit, or TPU, chips that are super competitive and designed specifically for these huge, large-scale AI workloads. And then you've got Meta, bringing the software. Meta created, maintains, and has huge influence over PyTorch, which just so happens to be the most widely used AI framework in the entire world. It's the default choice for almost everyone. And this alliance just makes perfect sense when you look at why they're doing it. Meta is desperate to reduce its dependence on a single supplier, Nvidia, and to cut its massive AI compute costs. Google, on the other hand, has this powerful but kind of underutilized hardware in its TPUs, and they need to drive adoption to justify their huge investments. And just look at the scale of that investment. By the end of 2025, Google's spending on AI infrastructure is projected to go past a staggering $90 billion. When you're spending at that scale, you have to make sure your own hardware is being used. It becomes a strategic imperative. Okay, so what does this new world look like? Does the empire just crumble? Well, not exactly, but the ground is definitely shifting. To be perfectly clear, TorchTPU doesn't mean NVIDIA is going to disappear overnight. What it does mean is that NVIDIA's software moat, it stops being absolute. For the first time, customers have a real, viable option without that painful migration cost. And in a market this large, a viable option changes everything. Now, realistically, this is going to take some time. Making PyTorch run efficiently on hardware that isn't CUDA is incredibly difficult. Google will probably need the next 12 to 18 months to harden the system for production and prove that it's reliable. But once it reaches that point, adoption could speed up very, very quickly. And that brings us to the fundamental question. This isn't a challenge to Nvidia's leadership in hardware, which is still formidable. No, this is a direct challenge to the software lock-in that has justified its astronomical valuation. The market hasn't fully reacted yet, but the question is now officially on the table. Is Nvidia's moat still deep enough? So what do you think? Can Google and Meta really break the lock, or is CUDA's lead just too great to overcome? If you like the video, subscribe, leave a like, comment on what you liked most, and share the video.